Good evening, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new season here with Invictus Racing League. This is the Realistic Performance League Tier 1 that we will be watching and commentating on this evening. I'm delighted to be here to be commentating on a brand new season. I'm Jack TM53, for those who don't know me, and I am looking forward to all of the action and intrigue that will be going on around this Italian circuit at Monza. What a fabulous circuit, built, of course, in 1922. It has hosted so many incredible races of Formula One and other events over the years. But you're here tonight to watch Invictus Racing League, and I'm sure you'll be having a great time. There's been a lot of intrigue ahead of this season, a lot of new drivers who've come in to join for this event this evening, and a lot of returning faces that all the community will get behind as well. I just want to give a quick shout out as well to just a couple of partnerships that we are with alongside at Invictus Racing League. We've got Gridfinder, of course. If you want to go and have a look at some other racing leagues, you can go on the Gridfinder website, have a look on there. There's a huge selection that you can go across, thousands of different games, of course. But why would you want to go there? You'd want to stay with Invictus. That's why you're watching here at the end of the day. And also a new partnership for this season, which is Venturi Studio. It's loads of top-tier livery and graphic designs that they create. They're providing loads of details for the drivers this season. Brings your fantasy into reality at the end of the day. And that's what they want to do. They want to turn dreams into visually stunning realities through craftsmanship. And that's always a good thing to have, and have a wonderful partnership that we have teamed up with Invictus. And I'm sure you'll all agree. Now, we're just waiting at the moment for a couple of drivers I know that we're looking towards. I know that there are a few people who are absent this evening. Obviously, of course, we're in the summer holidays. So if you're wondering about that, why we have a sort of lower grid than what we'd expect, do expect that to increase over the coming weeks. Obviously, we're in the summer holidays in the UK at the moment. But let me talk you through the teams that we've got lined up for this season. I'll go through the team names and the drivers, so you've got a clear understanding of what's going on. We've got Fast Cats, which is Nitro Gash and Ginger Tiger. You could see that Nitro Gash today in the Red Bull, and Ginger Tiger, where is he? He's in the Haas. One of the, I think, sixth fastest car in the realistic performance table for F1 23. You've got Bottom Gear, which is Cameron Searle and probably Owen. And obviously they're in their cars respectively today. Guess Who's Back, which is Simon Palmer 80 and Keza 6789. In the Ram team, which is just trying to look to see if both Ram drivers are here. Yes, Ronanosaurus is here in the Aston Martin's teammate Fury Bay, or Fury Bay, I should say, isn't here yet at the moment. We've got Andrea Moda, which is Vodka Comrade and Sir Spud. Sir Spud's in the Red Bull, I believe, this evening. You've got the Zach Speed team of Pampo NF1 and Phantom X 911. Phantom X is a debutant for this season, so it'll be fascinating to see how he gets on. He's absent this evening, so he'll be back for second race of the season at Saudi Arabia next Thursday. You've got Ryan X LFC 0307 in the AGS and Branimir Kipatinov as well. Asala have got the team of Merckx and SFR Martins, who are very familiar to this championship. Joe's Lost Sandwich, great team name, ARL 33, and of course Joe Hamster. And the last team, Venturi Racing, with Scotty and KNT 97. You can see KNT 97 in the Alpine for this evening. So that's all that's sorted in terms of the teams. If you're new here to IRL and you've never watched before, please do give us a like and a subscribe. It's a wonderful place, a great community to be involved in. I'd certainly recommend it. Go check out our Discord, of course, where there's loads of comments, loads of action, a really nice, friendly community to be a part of. And at the end of the day, that's what league racing is also about, which is the main thing. Couple of comments coming in already. Sorry for everybody, I was delaying the proceeds. I'd forgot to select spectator. Brilliant of me to do that one. But you know, it wouldn't be a first debut commentary for me in IRL without me making some form of mistake. But here we are anyway. The session starting in a few moments' time. What I do want to say for everybody as well, if you're new to the Realistic Performance League and you're unsure how it works, the drivers will be selected in terms of their cars that they have. So some of our sort of tier 3 drivers or tier 4 drivers, they typically end up in sort of the faster cars. You're looking at the Red Bulls, the Mercedes, the Ferrari, so to speak. And then our faster drivers, because of course the Realistic Performance League has a mixture of tier 1 to tier 4 drivers. Tier 4 drivers can end up in sort of maybe the Alpha Tauris, maybe sort of in one of the Alfa Romeos, a McLaren, because of course the McLaren at the start of this year was quite a slow car. It's been upgraded in the last few days and weeks and months, should I say, over this season. Of course, you've seen the uptick in performance from McLaren in real life with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri fighting for those podiums and almost race victories. But the Realistic Performance, for the first and only time this season, we got a one-shot qualifying that will decide the sprint race grid. So the drivers will have just a few moments to get themselves set up, and they'll be checking out their effective strategies for the sprint race. Typically, you're going to be looking at the medium compound tyres for the sprint. Someone might be brave, go for the soft. It's unheard of you'd see a driver select the white hard Pirelli compound tyres, but you never know, we might have a bit of rain. Monza does have a tendency to throw up a lot of carnage, as we've seen over the years. And I'm certainly looking forward to this one. I'm very excited to see how the drivers get on. We've got quite a few drivers in for this evening as well, which is always a good thing. We're in double figures, and like I say, next week I'm sure once people start returning to school with the holidays and families are more available, you'll see more drivers entering into our leagues, and that'll be great to see them as well. So we're in the pit lane. Of course, 11 corners here at Monza. It's the 5.7 kilometre circuit, 3.6 miles for those that use mileage, including myself. But of course, this track is steeped in Formula One history. You know, the closest ever Formula One finish in 1971. And then the controversy with Verstappen and Hamilton colliding into each other not so long ago in 2021. Yeah, what a track to be a part of. So we wait for the time being. It's dry, which is the main thing, so the drivers will have one shot at qualifying just to get the best they can out of those Red Bull Pirelli soft tyres. No chance they're going to be going on to intermediates or wets unless they want to have a laugh. But you have to consider the fact that you can't be deliberately trying to go slower, because that can cause a penalty that the drivers might have as well. So that's something that's also in the drivers' minds. But we're less than 20 seconds away now. I hope you're all excited. I certainly am. And we'll hopefully try and ride on board. Let's pick a driver. Who we're going to pick? A couple of people saying Keza potentially as an option. Let's see if we can follow him on circuit then. So around this final corner then at turn 11 onto the main straight. And everybody starts across the line. Now across we go. Get the tyre details. We can't have the telemetry on, of course, but let's put the map on and everything, so we got a chance. In the heavy braking zone into turn 1, you can see Ryan just clipping through in that Williams. You got Joe currently up near the top. No point in trying to commentate too much over the goings on in the shuffling of the order. We're coming around turn number 3 here at Curva Grande, 200 odd miles an hour on the brakes at the 100 metre marker board. We've got to clip the 2 curbs here. Ryan just takes a little bit of a wide line, a little bit of a wiggle on the exit, but no harm done. The Williams should be good round here. Into Lesmo 1. No problems at all. 6th gear should be a downshift. Ooh, little wiggle from the Williams. Gets away with it for the time being, but Ryan's off on his way. Owen currently up at the top. As we approach Ascari, one of the most famous corners in Formula One racing. fifth gear using for Owen. Nice line through there. Really well done from the Alfa Romeo. Of course, home track as well in terms of country for Alfa Romeo. But the AlphaTauri of Cameron is pushing forward as we go around the final corner here at the Curva Alboreto. Owen coming towards the line. What's this lap time going to be? It's going to be very close between the top two, and it is indeed. Owen takes pole position. And that is a statistic that no one else can beat him with this season. Owen will be the only driver this season to secure pole position with a one-shot qualifying lap. There you are. Let's have a quick run down of the order. Owen takes pole, just under 2 tenths clear of Cameron in the AlphaTauri. Got the Alpine of Joe and Ginger Tiger, third and fourth in the Haas respectively. Nitrogash and SFR Martin line up on the third row of the grid. You've got Venturi, KNT 97, I'm going to call him KNT 97 from now on, 7th. Ryan in 8th, Simon in 9th place, and Venturi Scotty rounds out the top 10. Ronanosaurus is 11th, so Spud must have had a bit of a mistake on his lap there, and Keza got disqualified, one of the favourites of this evening. So that is unfortunate for him. Let's see how his progress gets on through this sprint race we've got coming up shortly. We'll be curious to see if the sprint race will be affected at all by weather. Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's going to be slightly overcast. But if there is any form of a tailwind, the drivers have to be careful going into turn 11. That's the old Parabolica corner. It is renamed to Curva Alboreto for those that don't know. But I think a lot of people still refer to it as Parabolica, of course. It's a fan favourite. And drivers will be coming out of there at about 140, 150 miles an hour mid-corner. Very quick corner it is. And then on the approach down to turn 1 at about 220 miles an hour with DRS open. But the drivers are going to have to be wary at the start. We know that Owen's got pole, which is great to see for him. But he's got to get the launch right. This is one of the tracks on the calendar where the drivers are vulnerable, of course, to slipstream down towards turn 1. They could lose out, so Owen's got to nail that start. And we are moments away. Drivers just making their last little adjustments that they need. But if you are watching live, do put a comment in below who you believe, you think is going to win the sprint, or even the feature race that we'll have shortly after this. Or any podiums potentially. But of course, don't forget you are watching the Realistic Performance League, the first tier, if you want to call it that. RP1 it's abbreviated to. There is another session as well, RP2. Going on at the same time. I hope they're having fun in that lobby, but we're going to be having fun here. But strategy-wise, probably isn't going to come into a factor in the sprint, I don't believe. I'd be very surprised, unless there's a safety car, maybe. You might see some chaos. We have got the confirmation from Joe that we are going to be going shortly. Martin is also saying, and Martin and Kez are both saying that their car is topping out before turn 1. That might be a problem into the race. So here we are, 5 red lights coming up on your screen. Who will make the best start? And the race is live here at Monza. It's a slow start from one of the Alpines on the second row of the grid, but Owen has got the start he needed. He's going to be leading towards turn 1, but Cameron's got a good second phase. They're going to break. That is a car in the wall. That's KNT 97, and that is a safety car already. I'm not 100% certain what happened there. There's time penalties coming across the board, but what I can tell you is that KNT 97 is already out. Nightmare for the Alpines. Joe lost 2 spaces at the start. That was the slow Alpine I saw. And his teammate is gone already. So the safety car will come out. Let's have a look at the tyres. Everyone on the softs, apart from Sir Spud, the only one who's decided to select the mediums. There's the race strategy, of course. No stops we're expecting today for this sprint race. Just looking to see if any of the cars have got damage. There's a couple of drivers who've got 5-second time penalties. That's Joe, Ginger Tiger, and, well, both Haas cars have got themselves time penalties early on. Let's have a quick scan through. So Spud, just trying to get an angle we can see. No damage on his car. So it looks as if everybody has got through that. Maybe wheel-to-wheel contact sent Venturi. Unfortunately, the KNT97's gone into the wall. But that is not the start we expected. It was kind of saved Owen a little bit when the safety car timings came up for him, because Cameron was looking at a move. And Nitro Gash has gone into the pit. So let's just go with Nitro, see if he has got any damage or if this is just the stop. There's also Simon coming into the pits as well. New set of softs. Nitro carries on his way, so it didn't look like there was any damage. Or definitely didn't get any repaired. Simon does have on the front left, he's getting his 5-second penalty served as well by the looks of it. There we go. Pit team already sorting that one out. And the front wing goes on, no messing about for Simon. But the drivers out on circuit, Simon will have no issues catching up with the safety car train. It should be pretty straightforward for him. He's making his return, is Simon, to Invictus Racing League after having about a year out. Lots of personal matters that have gone on in his life outside of Invictus, but he's back today. It's great to see him. Hopefully he can put in a good performance. I know he had a bit of a wobble in one of the earlier races this week. I think he crashed out. I think he had a DNF actually, if I recall correctly. But Owen won't care about any of that. He's got the lead at the moment behind the Mercedes safety car. And he'll just have to be concentrating on waiting for when the safety car comes in, which we would expect to come in at the end of the next lap. Be very surprised if it came in now. We still haven't had a red flag either this season so far in Invictus, which is good. It's good. We don't want to have any huge accidents, but the red flag feature, of course, in Formula 1 23 for this year, new for this season, new for this year, this game. But Owen has Cameron behind him. That was very close in qualifying between those two. And it's Martin in third place. Let's have a look at the... Let's just have a quick check. There we go. Martin, yeah, making a very good start. Made up 3 places. Scotty up 3 places as well. Ronanosaurus. I'm going to call him Ronan from now on. So long to say there. Keza up 4 places as well. So don't forget Keza at the start of the back of the grid, of course. Nitro Gash is coming again. Now, I imagine that's going to be to serve his time penalty. And there's been another collision under safety car. Cameron's got a 5-second time penalty. That is certainly going to hinder him for the rest of this race now. Whether the safety car was just slow or there was an incident between the two of them, who knows? But that is unfortunate for Cam. So he's going to have to just crack on there. So, safety car trundling around Lesmo 2. Got Martin there in third, Joe 4th, Ginger Tiger 5th, Ryan in 6th place. 2 Williams is both running in the top 6. That's the Mercedes of Scotty, Ronan, Keza, Spud, Simon Palmer and Nitro, who's going to have a bit of an effort to try and catch up to the safety car. It's not impossible. He should be okay by the looks of it. They're just coming through Ascari now. Safety car, we are expecting to come in at the end of this lap. We haven't had any timings. There it is, race control letting us know. So we are about to go racing again here at Monza. We'll ride on board with Cameron. We'll wait to see when Owen in that Alfa Romeo sets off. Cameron's got a lot of work to do if he wants to try and get past the car in front of him. Look at him weaving, getting the tyres up to temperature. Owen will try and leave it, you would imagine, till now, and he has gone. So the Alfa Romeo sets off. Good restart for Owen. He should be safe there. So we fan ourselves around. Curva Alboreto, we go racing again. Owen leads the way. Cameron is under threat. ERS used by Cameron. He flies past Owen, who just lets him go. It's a change to the lead. That looks like Nitro Gash and Simon all battling together. The two Red Bulls together on circuit. Nitro on the inside. Oh, bit of contact between the two, and that is also... looks like Cameron and Owen having another huge fight between themselves, and Cameron is going to go back ahead of the Alfa Romeo. Watch out for Martin, who's just going to sit in behind. Big wiggle from the AlphaTauri in front. Just about covers his exit, does the AlphaTauri. Gets away with it. There's a yellow flag out on track. That's one. That's Ronan who's gone round. And I think Sir Spud is a little bit delayed by all of that. But Cameron won't care. He's leading the way. He's got the Alfa Romeo right behind him of Owen. Owen is pushing to stick with him. Got to stay within DRS, of course. Won't be active till lap 6. But already the top two are really putting the muscles down on Martin, who's lost a bit of time. Still far from over, of course. And look at the straight line speed. Martin also using a little bit of ERS there just to catch up to the cars in front. Venturi Scotty very close behind Ryan for 6th place. Lost a little bit of ground coming out of Curva Alboreto. Let's just have a quick scan back to where they are there. As Cameron sets the fast lap. Ginger Tiger goes quicker. Not quite close enough by the looks of it. Is Scotty. Ginger Tiger just putting his car in the wing mirrors of Joe there. Not going to be close enough for an overtake, but he will keep an eye out, of course. And Ryan and Ginger Tiger has made a mistake on the exit of turn 2. He's fallen backwards. Not ideal at all. So Ginger's going to have to just dust himself off, go again. Cameron leads. Still at the front, but he's got that 5-second time penalty. We'll have to find out afterwards what happened with that. Why there was contact between himself and Owen under safety car. You've got Martin there as well, so the top 3 have already got a gap on Joe. He's going to have to work hard now, Joe, to maintain that 4th place. Don't forget, he's another driver with 5 seconds worth of time penalties to deal with. Well, Owen's got a very good exit out of Ascari. Following the AlphaTauri, you can see he's closing all the time behind that Italian-backed car, of course, AlphaTauri based as well, in terms of with those Ferrari. But here comes Owen. He's going to have the slipstream on the back of Cameron, and he goes through for the lead, straightforward enough. Martin probably won't be close enough. Can Cameron try and get another slipstream back towards the Alfa Romeo? He's on the inside at turn 1, breaks a little bit later to give each other racing room. We'll follow with Martin. Nice and clean from those two, and Cameron re-overtakes the Alfa Romeo and takes the lead back. Great racing between these 3. Martin just keeping an eye out in the background now. You did see that little tick on the top. Did say DRS is enabled, and Cameron playing the strategy game already. Tactics are already here at Monza. He slowed down there just to let Owen back through, and he'll wait to get DRS out of Lesmo 2. The activation point is right here at that white line. Down to 4th gear for the AlphaTauri. A big wiggle on the exit. I have to say, it doesn't almost looked as if he didn't have it active, but he does, and he just sits behind the Alfa Romeo for the time being. But he'll have another shot of DRS coming out of the final corner at turn 11. It's a nice exit from the Alfa Romeo, though, it has to be said. But that slipstream effect around Monza is so powerful. In fact, Joe is also within a second, so he's done well in the Alpine to close that gap down. There we go then. DRS is going to be active at this point, and it's going to be as easy as that. He blasts on by, does Cameron, and he retakes the lead from Owen. It's also a move in the background. Scotty's just got past Ryan. Martin also there. Joe's just lost that 1 second advantage inside. He needs to be in that gap. And these 3 in front, they're going to be sensible. They're not going to make any stupid mistakes between the 3 of them. They will fight, but they'll want to push for the best possible position going on to the final lap. ERS management, the energy recovery system, is going to be so important now as well on in this race. The drivers are going to be using all of it towards the end of the race, but if you have a little bit just left, more than your rivals on the final lap, it can make a big difference around Monza. 6/10 the gap. Apologies everyone for the technical difficulty there. But in any case, Owen right behind Cameron still at the moment. Trying to push as hard as he can. He's going to have DRS available again this time around. Should be a lot easier for him if he decides to make that overtake. We're right in the wheel tracks. Here comes the Alfa Romeo to the inside line. Goes through. Watch out for Martin's just there as well. But Owen signs and seals that move. But he runs a bit deep on the brakes, and Cameron, nice position of the car. Just didn't quite have the exit he would have wanted, but he'll be very close to the inside. But Martin's there. This is very close between the top three. They're almost banging wheels together. They've got to be very careful. They're almost three wide. Joe's right behind them. But Cameron just about keeps the place and gets through into the lead again. But these four are all together. Martin gets past Owen. Owen trying to go around the outside. Wow, brilliant move at Lesmo 1. You don't see that very often. That's allowed Joe. Oh, big slide from Joe. He just about gathered it up. But look at this train of cars now. You've got the Mercedes. Scotty's joined in. Ryan's right there within DRS. Keza as well. Nitro's just gone past Ginger, who just had a bit of a mistake. Did the Haas driver. Saw him get loose on the exit of Lesmo 2. But this is the penultimate lap, ladies and gentlemen. Would you believe it? We are right here, and Owen is under that rear wing. But he doesn't need to make that overtake on Cameron just yet. So, for the penultimate time, we're going to go round the final corner. DRS active for the Alfa Romeo. He should be through on the inside with no problems at all at that proximity. He goes through. Joe Hamster is on the outside into turn 1, but he gets the braking all wrong. The Alpine is over the grass. Gets back on the circuit, but he's going to lose so much time, and that's the Mercedes of Scotty in the wall. And Scotty's lost it, and he's out of the running. He's going to have a broken front wing with that one. But unfortunately for Scotty, he was right there, and he's not anymore. The two Williams are up to third and fourth. What a result for those two. If they can maintain it, Owen, big mistake from the Alfa Romeo, trying to play the tactics, though. I saw him try to slow down. He braked a little bit, but Cameron doesn't fall in for it. This is Cameron's chance. Can he go past the Alfa Romeo? He's got DRS wide open. He's going to use all of the ERS he possibly can. He's going to blast on Pi. And through goes the AlphaTauri on the final lap of the race. Brakes, needs to get that car lined up through Ascari. He does indeed. Owen has got to use all of his tactical nous now to get back past. Don't forget, of course, Cameron does have a time penalty, but you just never know. It could be settled in with the stewards. Owen trying to look at a move on the exit, but he's not quite close enough on the entry to that curve around Alboreto corner. Cameron will cross the line in the lead, just about, but it's Owen who wins the sprint here at Monza. It's a double podium for Williams. Well done to Martin and Ryan. I'm sure James Vowles will be happy with that. Keza in fourth, Nitro in fifth. Cameron ends up sixth after crossing the line in the lead. Joe in seventh, Ginger Tiger in eighth place, Simon, Ronan, and that's a Spud crossing the line on the mediums in 11th, and Scotty with no front wing, there he is. He's going around the final corner in 12th position. Wow. Well, that was absolutely fantastic to watch, but it's Owen who's your race winner for the sprint. I am very confident that he'll be excited and very chuffed with that. So it is Owen who wins the sprint race. You've got Martin and Ryan with the double podium for Williams. And I'm sure they're going to be chuffed to pieces with that one. Do apologise if you can't quite see it at the moment. Just going to ensure that we can have a co-commentator in for this evening. I've just sent a request over. So hopefully he will get that now. We'll have our co-commentator in. But what a result that is. You know, what a great race we've already had there. That was fantastic to watch. And I am delighted to say that co-commentator joining, hopefully, at other rounds this season. Jordan, JPH99, has joined us. Two-time champion here with IRL. Jord, good to have you in the comms with us.
Good evening, Jack. How are you? It's good to be here. I've just finished watching the sprint race.
A lot of action there, Jord. I mean, what did you make of it?
I mean, basically, watching from the safety car, it looks like with the realistic performance is working quite nicely because the pack is quite close and tight, which is always good to see, especially in RP, being that you get drivers from all four tiers from this season in one lobby.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of exciting chances for drivers to have those battles amongst one another, and gives opportunities for the tier 4 guys to fight with the tier 1 drivers, which you don't really get in other leagues around the world, I should say, really, to be honest. In terms of strategy, Jordan, what would you be expecting for this race? What would you look at, and based on what you did on Monday, what are you thinking in terms of tyres?
Well, the game gives you two different strategies, whether it'll give you a soft to medium or a medium to hard. And it states that the medium to hard's about a second slower. However, I feel it's probably the safer strategy, especially because you're going to have to take the softs at least 11 laps, and the mediums you're going to have to take longer than you would with the medium hard strategies. So you're looking at a bit of tyre wear near the end of each of your stints. So I mean, most people that I've seen this week, I mean, tier 4 we had a safety car free race, and pretty much everyone bar a couple went with the medium to hard strategy. Medium
to hard. Do you think it could work in terms of strategy, soft to medium, medium to soft?
If you can keep the tyres in check, and maybe if there's like a bit of safety car near the start of the race, I think that does then become doable. But you do have to look after your tyres to make sure you get the whole benefit of it, because the tyres will drop off, especially the softs. They do tend to drop off quite quickly.
Okay. I've got a couple of comments coming through, just saying from Kelvin saying 15 medium. I'm assuming that's 15 laps for the mediums. I did see in some of the other leagues earlier this week, if you are just joining Invictus Racing League for the first time here, there are other leagues that go on tiers 1 through to 4 based on driver assessment and performance. But in those, here we go then for the race start. It's going to be the feature race here at Monza. Who will make the best start? And the race is live, and it's a good start for Owen. He needed to get that off the launch. He's done brilliantly well. He's going to be clear into turn 1. The two Williams are side by side, approaching that first corner here at the Variante. Oh, that is a Red Bull going off, and there's a virtual safety car already, Jord.
Yeah, quite a bit of debris there, and a 5-second penalty for, looks like Joe Hamster, and Nitrogash has a 5-second as well.
And no front wing.
Yeah, so not ideal. So Spud, probably the most careful into turn 1, decided to back right out with it, probably the safest thing to do. In terms of tyres, though, everyone on the mediums except Ryan and Joe on the softs, as Ginger now picks up 5 seconds for ignoring yellow flags. I can only assume that's potentially an overtake.
It's either an overtake or we're back live racing again, but that's unfortunate for Ginger. He's going to have to deal with that at his pit stop, so not ideal for the Haasman. But right now, Owen already trying to make a break for it. 3/4 of a second clear of the Williams of Martin, as Venturi Scotti goes past the front wingless Nitro Gas. Ronan up to 7th as well whilst we watch that. But Cameron is right in the wheel tracks of Ryan. He wants to make as much progress up as possible, but he's got soft tyres, shod car in front of him. That's going to be tricky round here.
Yeah, the traction of the softs is far superior to that of the mediums. And you can see right into the pits.
Very early stop. So does Ryan have any damage, I wonder? Just watching Joe and Ginger Tiger going side by side down the main straight. No contact, please, lads. We've already had some so far in this race. You got the Alpine on the inside line at turn 1, but fair play to Ginger, not giving this up at all. And Ginger muscling his way through. Who's going to get the best exit? You'd expect Joe with those soft tyres to get the advantage on traction, as Jordan said earlier. And sure enough, he's on the inside. But Ginger is not giving this up. This is great racecraft from the Haas. Doesn't break any later, though. He decides to be sensible and will try again in a few corners, I'm sure.
Yeah, just a on Ryan. No front wing change, just a change to mediums as Cameron gets past Martin up for second. Keza came in for a new front wing and he's now on the hards, probably looking to try and extend that as much as he can and hope for a safety car.
Yeah, you would expect a safety car would have to help Keza to come back into this, but it seems that the commenters, in terms of who they believed was gonna win or be a factor in these races, Keza's just unfortunately not had the type of evening he would have wanted. But Owen 2 seconds clear of Cameron, and that's exactly the start Owen would have wanted. He's got his sprint win and he's going for the feature race now.
Yeah, and the other thing to remember is Owen and Cameron are actually teammates this season in RP. Even though they're driving different cars, they are paired up together. So I'm expecting them, since Martin's still on the back of Cameron, I'm expecting them to maybe try and work together. Because one thing we haven't, as I think that was a Rhinoceros just a little bit wide for the chicane.
He's had a bit of a mistake there, hasn't he?
And Simon Palmer in a bit of a battle with Kent and Scotty.
Yeah, this is a great fight, these three. Look at KN97 is on the outside. Simon trying to... Ooh, bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. You don't need that round Curva Grande. But Simon's on the inside for the corner. Give each other racing room and fair play to the Alpine. He keeps the spot, but his traction wasn't good enough. And Simon's on the inside for Lesmo 1. It's great racing between these two. And watching it on board with Scotty, who's just at the back of this. And you should have DRS enabled now, so the slot of the rear wing goes open for Simon Palmer, but I don't know, is he going to be close enough? He's closing that gap right down, but he thinks better of it.
Yeah, a little bit wide for Simon into Ascari, which might give Scotty the run. Obviously, you can tell by the names, Kent and Scotty teammates for this season as well, for Venturi Racing. And here comes Scotty, has a quick look at Parabolica, but thinks better of it.
I think Scotty got into the back of Simon. I think that's why Simon went deep into Ascari, just clipped the camera back. Martin is very close to the back of Cameron, but I've got to say, Joe, that front gap has come down. Owen, we just mentioned before, was 2 seconds clear as Simon blasts his way past the Alpine. I haven't said that. Kent is not giving this up, as I now know he's called Kent. Thanks for that, George. Wheel-to-wheel contact between the two, but just at the moment should be okay for now. But Owen is losing time to Cameron, who's absolutely flying.
Yeah, Cameron is one of these Rhinoceros down the inside of Ginger Tiger for fifth. Now, Della Roger chicane, not the easiest place to make a move, but when you do tend to build a slight gap for Lesmo afterwards.
Yeah, definitely, and you can see Rodin's already making that time. As you said, George, he's already 7/10 clear, and that's going to be enough to make sure he doesn't have to worry. Speaking of 7/10, that's the gap at the front briefly as they went through Ascari. Cameron's got to try and keep that DRS, keep that gap within a second so he can activate it down the main straight, which will be vital for him. Oh, he's lost the back end. He's gone round. Cameron's lost it. He put a wheel on the grass, and the Alpha Tauri, who'd done so much work, drops a place. He's probably going to be vulnerable to Joe Hamster, who's going to look at this and think, yeah, there's probably a chance here for an overtake for me. Let's see if he gets there. The Alpine up to speed, but fortunately for Cameron, we, incidentally enough, had DRS just before his spin.
Yeah, obviously the detection just before Parabolica, so he's got away with one there slightly as Cameron. And that's going to help Owen because Cameron was bringing Martin along for the ride because of that little bit of DRS pairing. But now that Martin doesn't have that advantage of DRS, that gap might well stabilise. But I was going to say earlier that between Cameron and Owen, if they could work together to get outside of a second to Martin, they will drop him because, as Joe Hamster, that was a brilliant save out of the chicane.
Oh, he's had another slide as well, overheating the tyres through Lesmo 1. Great for us to watch, but terrible for his tyre wear. But that was a bit of a show from the Alpine right there in fourth place. He's lost DRS to Cameron, so he's just got to refocus and try and get the best out of the tyres left. He'll have a few more laps. Jordan, do you think those soft tyres, he could make it to double figures, or do you think that's asking too much as Joe runs even further over the AstroTurf at the exit of Ascari?
I mean, if you want to go soft to medium, you have to get them into double figures for the laps. That's an absolute must. So unless you're thinking of going soft to hard, sorry, in which you can probably just about get away with some single figure laps. But I suspect Joe will definitely be going for a soft medium. Just needs to keep that car in check, and the gap at the front has grown out to 2 seconds. Simon Palmer, is he going to find? He's finally got past Kent. Kent tries to go on the outside, but he knows that one is a bit of a lost cause as you enter turn 1 and 2. And now Simon Palmer, the one under pressure.
Yeah, Simon's going to have to... He's got his work cut out in terms of the two Venturi drivers behind him. But so far, so good for Simon. He wants to make sure he gets a points finish in this race. It'd be certainly an improvement from what he had earlier this week in the earlier tiers that he was racing in. But he's going to be under pressure now because Kent is going to have this DRS. He's already got the activation point, no problems at all. DRS, the flap is wide open. You've got Scotty just in behind. Let's see if that Alpine can close the gap. Here it comes, the overspeed as Nitro Gas goes off. On the inside, that's a late move. Oh, brilliant. Oh, that is Kent in the wall, and he's lost his front wing. Was there any contact between the two?
Not particularly sure on that one.
Didn't look as if there was, but... That is unfortunate. Scotty's going to have the inside line on Simon on the exit of Curva Alboreto. And sure enough, he'll go through. I'm just looking to see. Yeah, Scotty does have DRS and Kent in the pits. But that's why my voice went into Narnia there, because that was unexpected. I wasn't expecting the Alpine in the wall. But sadly for Kent, that's going to be a bit of a difficult race for the rest of the evening.
Yeah, and definitely not ideal. A long race from here, but as we know, anything can happen with F1. All it takes is one thing to happen to cause a safety car, and Keza gets now past Kent as Kent finally rejoins the track on a set of hard tyres. 20 laps, that's definitely doable on the hards, as I see another yellow for Nitro Gas, I think.
Nitro's unfortunately having a bit of a difficult time. Nitro, a well-raced driver within Invictus Racing League. He's won multiple times in formerly Tier 3 has Nitro, so certainly got a lot of racecraft experience, but just not working out for him this evening, unfortunately. His teammate, Ginger Tiger, running in 6th. The battle for the top 4 looks like it could start hotting up here. I think Joe might be starting to struggle a bit with the performance of those soft compound tyres, and it's brought Roninosaurus and Ginger Tiger within DRS of one another, so there'd be a fight there, I'd expect, over the next lap or two, you'd imagine.
Yeah, especially now that the Aston Martin's got some DRS, that gap will close quite quickly because the slipstream... I mean, we talk about DRS quite a lot, but Joe gets really squirrely coming out of turn 2. But it doesn't look like Roninosaurus got too much of a better run than Joe in the end. But yeah, we talk about DRS quite a lot, but the slipstream round here is very powerful as well on top. So it doesn't get talked much about nowadays, slipstream.
No, you're very right there, Judd. It doesn't get caught up on at all. But of course, Monza isn't really known one of the festivals of performance for nothing, and you can see that Joe is just running all of the exit curbs, using all of the road available to him, trying to limit as much damage on those soft tyres as he can. But you feel at this point in the race that he's on the wrong tyre. I don't mean that he's made the wrong strategy choice, but in terms of the performance, Ronan and Ginger right behind now are going to be looking at that Alpine thinking there's another spot for us we can take. Looking at the rest of the group and the grid, the drivers, there's no real closer fight on circuit than these three, so we will stick with them.
Yeah, it's interesting to speak up performance. I can say this now because this is the final race of the week. As Roninosaurus down the inside of DRS, but Joe late on the brakes, trying to stick around the outside. A little bit of contact, side pod to tyre, and Roninosaurus will get a pass, but I don't think Joe will be too happy with it. Although you have to feel he did have the corner on the entry.
A little bit of argy-bargy between the two. But Ronan won't be thinking about that. He'll be thinking, right, I've got to try and pull away now. Use Joe as a bit of a stopgap and hope that he can slow Ginger Tiger down. Because don't forget, Ronan and Ginger are on a fight for long-term strategy. That's on the curb from Joe. You've got to avoid the curbs in F123. They are lethal. But Joe is just using all of them at liberty. And the other matter is, as I said earlier, these three are the closest on circuit. Scotty's only 1.3 behind. He's closed the gap as well.
Yeah, actually, if Scotty gets into DRS as well, which if Joe continues to fight, that will definitely happen. And Simon Palmer isn't exactly too far away from Scotty. Obviously, Scotty does have the slight car advantage for this race in the Mercedes. So he should be a little bit quicker than those around him.
He definitely should. Let's have a look. DRS now active down this main straight. Joe also has it, but he doesn't have the benefit of the slipstream that Ginger does behind. Ginger just showing Joe the mirrors there, just to say, look, I'm right there with you. Don't rule me out. I'll have a look at it move shortly. And I think if you look at the cars further back, you know, Scotty, Simon there in 8th place. And I've got to say, Sir Spud doing it. I don't want to curse him, so I won't say too much on Spud, but for a Tier 4 driver, he's hanging well.
Yeah, he's going well. So he's taken advantage of the four behind him that have had to pit early for one reason or another. Obviously with the Red Bull, which is, I must admit, I have tested some of the cars just pre-season. It's a very nice car to drive, especially in the realistic performance version of it anyway. So yeah, he's doing nice. And the key thing here is that, yeah, just finish the RP race, because everyone scores points as long as you finish.
Yeah, absolutely. That's vital for everyone to know. The point system between the tier leagues, as Ginger picks up another time penalty. Let's just bring that up. He's 8 seconds worth of time penalty, so he's going to have to serve his 5 seconds, but that is not ideal. We're not halfway through the race just yet. I've got to say, though, Joe, fair play to him. He's managed to pick himself up after those few laps where he's making a couple of mistakes. He's within DRS of Ronan. He's going to have that, and the slipstream effect will just breeze him on by as Simon now decides to pit, which you would say, Jord, is perhaps a couple of laps early for the mediums.
A couple laps early, but again, with the wear of the hard tyre, he can go to the end, and he'll be looking basically for an undercut, which me and you both know, Jack, does actually work on this game in comparison to obviously F122, where the cold tyres were horrendous to get warmed up. It's a little bit different in this year's game.
Yeah, that certainly is. The undercut is very powerful on F123, and Simon has gone to the hard tyres. He's emerged in front of Keza as well, so that'll help him if he's going to use Keza. If they work together, there might be a bit of time found if they want to use the slipstream of one another in the DRS train. They could create for themselves, but we'll see how that works out. There's still a long way to go in this race yet. But Joe running in 4th place. Oh, another wiggle for that Alpine. He's got a lot of coverage so far this evening, is Joe, and rightfully so. He's putting on a display for all of the fans around this wonderful circuit. But Ronan, you feel, is going to have the measure of him, and Scotty's almost there. He's just sort of sitting at that gap. He's struggling to get into DRS primarily because he doesn't have access to it, and the cars around him do. Here comes Ronan, maxing out the limiter, but he's just not close enough to the back of the Alpine, and he has to sit in 5th place for now. Oh, big slide from Joe.
He's on the grass as well. I was just about to say, he was on the grass whilst he was trying to wheel spin. He'll pick up 5 more seconds from the game for that collision, and safety car is out. That was very unfortunate. Joe just getting all out of shape on the grass. Unfortunately, Ronan went for the move on the outside, and with the unfortunate party that whilst Joe was trying to gather his car up, the contact came.
That's absolute disaster. It was a completely accidental collision, and as Jord rightfully says there, Joe just losing the back end, and that was that. And this is a welcome tonic for the drivers who are still out there, and for, in particular, Joe himself. I know that he's got penalties to deal with, and I'm sure Ronan will have something to say about that incident, but he'll have a chance to pit as well. And I'm certain that Owen and Martin are going to be. I've got to say, Martin has closed up a lot under this safety car. I don't know if Owen's got a different delta. The gap was above 3 seconds. It just went out to, well, it was briefly less than a second, and Martin picks up a time penalty. Would you believe it, for speeding in the pit lane? That is absolutely not ideal for the Williams. And how many drivers, Jules, are we going to end up having who's going to have time penalties? And nightmare.
Yeah, it seems it's a bit interesting because Monza is a slightly, well, in this game it's slightly more difficult in my opinion to pick up those penalties, but obviously drivers finding ways of doing it, and this is where RP becomes a little bit more interesting, especially when we get obviously some of the drivers who couldn't make tonight in, because your teammate is not in the same team as you in the game necessarily. You could end up with some double stacking in these situations just purely because you can't control what the other person does in your team because you're not going to be speaking to them.
Not literally in the same pit carriage. You're not wrong there with that. I think Simon's going to be a bit annoyed by what's gone on. I think he's only, to be honest with you, thanks to Ronan's retirement and Sir Spud overtaking him, I think he's managed to stay in the same position, but he'll be a bit annoyed that Spud's come out in front of him because he's got a free pit stop in the Red Bull, which isn't ideal, but hey ho, he'll just have to get on with it, and I'm sure that Simon will be looking for a move past the Red Bull. Simon's also got his teammate Keza, who has pitted. He's now on the medium compound tyres in that Mercedes. You got Ryan, who's come into the pits, and Nitro. It's a great chance for all the drivers who, isn't it, Jord, who had a few accidents or issues earlier on. They can now get on with it, get back up to the safety car, and those on the mediums, keep an eye out on, surely.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I have picked up on, Joe has gone to another set of softs. I'm expecting him to come back into the pits to serve that second 5-second penalty that he's picked up, because obviously you only serve the one penalty in the pit lane. You can't serve 2 penalties at the same time. So I'm expecting him to come back in to serve that 5 seconds and get on the mediums. But I'm surprised that he hasn't gone out on a set of mediums, done that 1 lap on a medium, and then come back in for a set of softs to end, on the basis that he's taken them. He took him 11, 12 laps in the first place. And he picks him another set of 5 seconds for not slowing the car down enough. And how many times might we see Joe Hamster in the pit lane whilst the safety car's out?
I mean, how many penalties can you serve under safety car? 2, probably, before you... I mean... We are under the second lap of safety car, and for those who are just tuning in, if you're wondering how we've got here, there was an accident between Joe and Ronan, who you can see is retired from the race on the exit here of turn 2, and the drivers are rumbling round under this safety car. We'll see how Ginger Tiger also gets on. He did start on the medium compound. He's now on the soft. Whether those will last comfortably to the end, they'll probably make it to the end, I'm sure about that. But whether they'll make it comfortably is another matter. So watch out for Ginger Tiger on 2-step newer tyres in terms of the compounds that they're on. Jord, in terms of the points for the Realistic Performance League, how do they work here for this evening?
So, obviously for the sprint, the top 8 get points, 8 to 1, first to 8th. It's almost a pretty standard sort of premise for that one. In terms of the actual main race, same point system as last season, so you get 25 for winning the race, 22 for second, 20 for third, 17 for fourth, 16 for fifth, and then every position after that is 1 point less, so it goes 15, 14, 13, etc. And obviously, as long as you finish the race and you have fastest lap, you then take an extra point for that as well in the feature race.
There we go, so everyone who's still in the lobby, still racing, they've got a great chance at not only scoring some good points as Ryan goes past Keza under safety car. I don't know if that was just them swapping back places. I don't know if you saw that, Jord, but that looked a bit peculiar.
No, unless there's a very good reason for the swap positions, as Kent comes in the pits. Will Joe Hamster come in? Yes, he does. And he doesn't speed in the pit lane this time, so I'm expecting now a set of soft tyres from both Kent and Joe to the end of this race. 12 laps is just about to do, obviously less fuel in the car as well, but they are double stacking because they're both in the pits.
I was just about to point that out, spot on, Jord, that both Alpines having to double stack, well, Joe having to be delayed. But again, they're on the soft tyres. This is a great position for them to be in, especially for Kent, because I don't believe Kent has any time penalties of any form. No, he doesn't. So he'll have got rid of all of his, which is positive, and Joe has also removed all of his penalties. So we do have a good scrap on for the rest of this race. Martin, of course, he's got his 5 seconds that he has to contend with from earlier. Ginger Tiger and Keza, theirs are track limit penalties, just so you're aware. So those two have 3 seconds worth respectively. This is all set up for a grandstand finish, I reckon.
Yeah, it must be noted as well that any 5-second penalties that are served in the race cannot then be removed. You can't then go to the student and say, I'd like 5 seconds off my time. If you serve them, you've served them, and that's the end of the story. Is safety car in this lap. It's going to be interesting. Is Joe Hamster going to actually get on the tail end of this train?
That is a big question. We will find out in just a few seconds whether he will. The field are going very slowly down the back straight towards Curva Alboreto. I'm riding on board with Martin. We can wait to see when he goes. I think Joe is going to hit the back of the train just in time. So 2 Alpines have been turned around quickly. And that is Owen gone. That is a great restart. He's caught Martin asleep, and Owen is off and up the road. He's almost a second. He is a second clear on the exit of Curva Alboreto. What a start for the Alfa Romeo. He is gone, and Cameron will have seen that and felt so frustrated. But Cameron's got a great chance here to get past Martin. He's using all of the battery power that he can to get up the inside of the Williams. He should brake a little bit later. He's got the space. He's got the move done. He just needs to get it stopped, which he does. Little bit of a difficulty on the rotation, but he's fine, and Cameron is up to second. But dream start for the Alfa of Owen.
Yeah, the 2 Alpines side by side through Curva Grande. Ginger Tiger past Scotty up into 4th as Kent and Joe finally, they're still going to be side by side into the Della Roggia chicane. Joe Hamster on the inside will claim the position for now, but watch out for these two on the softs, as well as Ginger Tiger, who's just got past Scotty. The grip advantage they'll have at the moment will be quite superior, as I think Ginger Tiger not far off the back of Martin. But that was probably the best thing for Owen in terms of their team, was to go early. Whilst it could have been frustrating for Cameron, absolutely the perfect thing, because it made Martin vulnerable, as we saw, to Cameron, and it's now a bottom gear 1-2.
Bottom gear 1-2 for those two, but they'll want to get the first race win, the feature race win of the season, and sure enough, Cameron goes up the inside of Owen. I'm riding on board with Ginger Tiger because I'm curious to see how quickly he can clear this Williams as Nitro goes past Keza. That is a Williams facing the wrong way. That's Ryan. I think he's had a bit of a moment somewhere on the exit of turn 11, but Ginger Tiger, he's got to try and get this move done as soon as he can. He's going to be on the inside. Would he dare to brake later than the Williams? He tried. A little bit of a bump in the back for the Williams from the Haas, but he gets away with it. But for the time being, these two outside the DRS already. Those bottom gear drivers are off and up the road.
Yeah, Kent and Joe Hamster swapping once again. Kent now up into 9th as they try and go after Nitrogash in 8th. And it's going to be close. Obviously, Ginger Tiger, in terms of penalties, has got 2 seconds less than Martin, so he doesn't necessarily have to overtake him on track.
You feel, though, with the tyres that Ginger has, you'd be more inclined to try and get past for fear of losing that advantage later on, wouldn't you, Jord?
Oh, absolutely. You want to try and use this to the best of your ability, get a second up the road to Martin if you can. But to be fair, that gap between Owen and Martin's kind of stabilised around that 1.2, 1.3 area. Although I think it will get bigger once we hit DRS activation.
Absolutely. There goes Nitro past Simon. He's going to be behind his, on-circuit teammate in the form of Sir Spud, in terms of them both being in the Red Bulls. Nitro's teammate is Ginger Tiger for the Fast Cats. As speaking of Ginger Tiger, he's got past Martin without the assistance of DRS, just using the good old-fashioned slipstream. He should be able to brake a little bit later than the Williams. He does brake too late, for that matter. Oh, and Ginger just crowds him off the road. Scotty also goes through as well thanks to that sort of shenanigans, and Martin goes from 3rd to 5th in a matter of 2 corners.
Yeah, the problem for Ginger here is whilst he does have a slight tyre advantage, Scotty is in that Mercedes for the night, and how much more advantage are those soft tyres going to have? Simon looks like there's an Alpine. Joe Hamster has cut the Della Rocha chicane. We've got Simon Palmer and Kent side by side through Lesmo 1. That's close, but all clean and square. Joe Hamster now looking to the inside of the Haas for Lesmo 2. And again, nice and clean, good space given. The Williams in the background getting a little bit twitchy. Both Joe and Simon have DRS. The question is who's going to use the ERS or got a bit of a higher top end. The answer is Joe into 9th for the Alpine, but you feel that Simon kind of just needs to bide his time there and wait for those softs to start to fall off the cliff in, I suspect, about 4 or 5 laps time.
Yeah, you would imagine that would be the case in terms of the tyre advantage. Speaking of the tyres, you've got Cameron and Owen both on the hard compound tyres. The bottom gear drivers running line astern, but Scotty is getting the march on. He goes past Ginger Tiger for 3rd place, and you would expect that with the performance that Scotty is showing so far, Jord, what's happened there?
Sir Spud, he was trying to get past Kent with the DRS. Hit the brakes, and he almost ran into the back of Nitrogash. He was kind of slightly boxed in and ended up taking avoiding action. I think that 5 seconds that he got for corner cutting, as it states, will probably get removed. That's a bit harsh. He took avoiding action to make sure he didn't go into the back of Nitro. Good driving from Spud, just slightly too late on the brakes.
Yeah, it still has been a really good showing from Sir Spud. Good to see him. I know fighting in the top 6, top 7. He's down in 11th now thanks to that incident. But for him, it's all about getting that experience, running near the front and putting all of that knowledge to good use in Tier 4 for next week's events. In IRL, of course, we're racing at Saudi Arabia next week. But out on circuit, we're here at Monza. And currently, the bottom gear driver's 3 seconds clear of Scotty. And you feel that is now a fight. Depending on how Scotty gets on this next lap, it all comes down to whether Ginger Tiger and Martin can use Scotty to sort of just pace themselves up to the back of the front two. But that's going to be very difficult. And also, Jord, is it me or is it getting darker?
It does look like it is getting slightly more overcast at the moment. If this is weather coming in, it's whether it'll come in quick enough. That's the big question. I think Nitro and Kent having a bit of a battle out of turn 2. And it must be noted now, obviously, for anyone that maybe doesn't quite know the way the F1 games work, if you see some of the cars' red light flashing on the back, that's because they're derating. And on the games, I think Spud's just got past Simon Palmer, which is a good sign for him. Now, the cars derating on the gains normally mean you've got less than 10% of ERS, which is crucial information for those that you're fighting, because if they have more ERS, they know they have the advantage in terms of their electrical use.
Yeah, absolutely true. So that's another sort of tactical element that the drivers can use in their arrows that they're going to be firing at one another as we go around this track. We are in the last third of the race here in Italy. The 2 drivers at the front bottom gear, they're just running line astern. I think Owen's going to go past Cameron for the race lead, and he does. The 2 teammates swap position, but we'll see how that fight hots up later on. Martin and Ginger Tiger, that's an important move for Martin. He's got to try and get this done if he can. Is Ginger's tyres just starting to fall away now? They are 8 laps old. Admittedly, they've probably done 6 laps worth of pure running as Ken and Joe Hamster are fighting big time. It's 2x2 going round the Curva Grande. Oh, Kent just gets in front. Nitro Grasher's almost looking for a move on the inside of Joe for the Della Rocha chicane there. There's action all over the circuit.
Yeah, you do not want to know how close that was between the Alpines. They almost touched on the entry to the Curva Grande, and they performed like a Schumacher Hakkinen-esque move from when they done it in Belgium. They went either side of Nitrogash down towards turn 1. The Nitro was stuck in that Alpine sandwich with him as the filling. but ultimately it looked like it all ended up clean as a whistle, so some good driving displayed by all.
A really good display. Nitro Gas feeling
Owen
like
has also taken the lead.
Yeah, he has just resumed the lead, actually. Pretty straightforward down the straight towards Ascari, but I think that's going to change with Cameron re-overtaking him. He does indeed. I was about to say that Nitro was probably feeling a little bit like Zontergash then rather than Nitro, but Kent is going to be vulnerable to the cars behind him. Joe goes back through. Look at the straight line speed of that Red Bull. How many times have we said that this season? And the Red Bull Nitro almost going through. Kent not giving it up on the exit of the corner. And fair play, he gets back in front. And Keza, as Jordan rightfully says, goes past the Red Bull as well.
Meanwhile, the battle at the back as well, because Sir Spud's now down to 12th place, Simon 10th, Ryan 11th. Normally we'd say for the tail end of the points, but everyone's getting points, so every position does count in RP. And the other thing is, this result then determines the grid for next week's sprint race, because this result gets reversed as Martin goes past Scotty.
That's a big move. That is a big move for Martin. He's got past Scotty, who was looking imperious earlier. He looked like the quicker of the three drivers together of Martin, Scotty and Ginger, but it seems that Martin has found something in these latter phases of this race. Ginger Tiger just about hanging on, but I fear that at this stage now, those soft tyres are going to be more of a hindrance, and he'll have to hope that he can maintain, well, he's 6 seconds clear of Joe, so you'd expect him to hold that advantage. Owen regains the lead, whilst we watch Scotty just breeze back past the Williams. It's very hard to gauge who is going to be coming out on top here. The two Alpines.
On the outside, yeah. Done deal. Nitrogash looks at the inside of Keza into turn 1, hits the brakes, bit of contact as the end. No, they're still side by side on the exit, and it looks like Keza's just about got the traction on the way out. So Keza remains in 8th, and the Alpines are still going at each other.
Oh, indeed. Kent's in front of Joe, and Joe just backing off a little bit there. Doesn't want to plough into the back of... what I was literally saying, he doesn't want to plough into the back of his teammate, but Joe has been involved in everything this evening, unfortunately, and that has sent, unfortunately, Kent to the back of the grid. You've got Keza just about not making contact with Joe, trying to make a move at Lesmo 1. That wasn't going to work, and Nitro will have seen that. DRS wide open. Even though Keza's got the slipstream, it won't matter, because that Alpine, using the ERS, has got so much straight line speed. That Red Bull is absolutely motoring along here in Monza, and it's going to be very difficult for the cars behind to get past, as Ryan now joins the fight for what is effectively 6th and 7th places.
Yes, Cameron once again makes a regulation overtake for the lead with the DRS. Big shame that for Kent. That was he was going well, but Keza in the pits.
Yeah, as Scotty's gone past Martin as well. Oh, that's Ginger. That is a bit of contact's gone on there, and that's Scotty in the wall. The Mercedes has just about kept it in a straight line. There's damage to his front wing. I just clipped the end of that, but Scotty, unfortunately, is the victim in all of that in terms of the damage. I can't quite tell you exactly what's gone on, unfortunately, but Martin has lost a spot to Ginger Tiger because they were fighting hard, the Williams and the Mercedes, and those two, well, I'm sure they'll be having words after this race.
It's just starting to get a little bit scrappy now as you get to the final end, final few laps of this race. People trying to make up positions. And as I say, this result, you flip the results from this race, and that creates your grid. Obviously, if you did retire, then obviously you start at the back. But yeah, flip it, and that creates your sprint race grid for next week at Saudi Arabia, as I think there's a slightly less regulation overtake from Owen on the exit of Parabolica. So I wonder if Cameron just had a little bit of a twitch.
Potentially, or they've swapped places through, because the DRS activation point, as Cameron looks to the inside, the DRS activation point is right before the final corner, so maybe there's been a bit of tactics going on there, setting themselves up for the last few laps of the races. Martin re-overtakes Ginger Tiger. Don't forget, these two have got penalties, so Ginger could be on his way to a podium, which would be a great result for the former RP champ, of course, Ginger Tiger. He's won it back in season 15, and he'll be looking to try and start the season off with a podium if he can. It does seem as if the gaps have just tailored, or rather petered out in the spaces below 6th place. So we're looking at the fights for the lead and the last spot on the podium. I have to say, though, Ginger Tiger, despite everything, Jordan, has just about managed to stay involved in the fight near the front, and credit to him with those soft tyres.
Yeah, he's done a good job. It'd be interesting if he does make the podium to see just how bad those softs were come the end of this race. Obviously, I think the game does simulate slightly better the lighter fuel. I think Simon making a move on Joe Hamster with DRS up into a Ascari. I don't know if there's... I'm guessing there must be a bit of wing damage for Joe. Whilst it's not visible to us, there must be a little bit, because he is definitely nowhere near as quick as he was earlier. But yeah, Ginger Tiger, again, Ginger just has to stay within 2 seconds here. And being the last couple laps of this race, you have to think, make sure you finish, because if he finishes, at the moment, he's going to have 3rd place anyway.
Yeah, that's the key for Ginger. He's got to just keep hold of those tyres and run to the end of the race now, and just stay in the wheel tracks of Martin if he can. But my, and probably everyone's attention, will be turning to this fight at the front. We are on the penultimate lap, ladies and gentlemen. Cameron and Owen, the 2 bottom gear drivers, the gloves are off, they're 8 seconds clear. The drivers behind them have got time penalties, and they will be, as Keza goes and gets the fastest lap, but they will be pushing each other exceptionally hard, and you can see the use of ERS between the two. That is what they're going to be concentrating on and try and save as much as they can. Going on to the final lap, Jord, best position do you think in terms of tactics? Where would you want to be, first or second?
I think if you know you've got the car to stay ahead up to Ascari, you want to be behind going on to the last lap and utilise that first DRS zone. It just depends, because if Owen's got enough battery left, he can defend up into Ascari, because there's a much shorter DRS zone. So I think Owen's in the prime seat here. As open goes the wing, and past the AlphaTauri he goes. It wouldn't surprise me if these two don't fight too much, just to secure a very big haul of points for the team at this early stage. Obviously, drivers you can fight slightly later. Ginger Tiger makes a move on Martin on those 14-lap-old soft tyres.
This is really impressive from Ginger Tiger. Runs a bit deep into the corner, not ideal. He want that 3rd place on circuit, and Martin is doing everything he can to try and go around the outside at turn 3, completely flat. Doesn't matter what side of the track you're on, but Martin can't make it stick. He has to slot in behind. I move to the front. Owen, Cameron together on circuit. Whoa, Cameron really pushing the car to its limits, but Owen has just opened up the taps, it seems. And I'm looking at the ERS management. Owen has got a lot more battery, dare I say it, and he should be comfortably clear as we approach Ascari.
Yeah, he's just got to get through Ascari clean. Runs a bit wide. That's going to open the door here for Cameron. He's going to have to get on the afterburners, that is the ERS, and hope that it's enough. SFRMI down the inside of Ginger Tiger. He picks up another 3 seconds, though, so that's not going to help him. Down is a Parabolica, and Owen just still ahead.
He's gone deep. He's gone deep at the final corner. Cameron and Owen, they're going to be side by side towards the line. They can't link the wheels. Who's going to get there? It's going to be so close, but it's Owen who takes it by 0.02 of a second. Wow, what a finish here at Monza. Martin's going to cross the line 3rd, but it's Ginger Tiger thanks to his time penalty for Martin. Where will Scotty end up? He snatches 4th. Martin ends up dropping down to 6th in the end. Nitro, good result for him with 5th. Wow, George, that was absolutely fantastic right at the end. That was a photo finish, but Owen, despite running wide, maybe there was a little bit of potential sort of teamwork together to make it a bit more exciting at the end, but that was brilliant.
Yeah, you can't deny photo finishes on the line are always exciting, whether it's teammates or not, and it just shows you that even though they are teammates, Owen was pushing hard to ensure that he tried to get that win, and he actually just overstepped slightly in the braking zone almost. It's almost like he just braked that 5 metres too late, which was enough to send him deep, but he just about hung on. And I think he'd have to give credit to his ERS management on that. In fact, he was able to probably get on it slightly earlier and use more than Cameron to the line. It just about saved him, I think.
It did indeed. Owen, just like you say, Jordan, making that mistake, it could have cost them the victory, but it didn't in the end, and he'll be celebrating that victory, of course. Both, of course, Owen and Cameron, both on the PC, so we'll be unfortunately not able to chat to them this evening, but we might have the opportunity to have a chat with Ginger Tiger, who finished in 3rd place. Jordan, I don't know if you can potentially invite them. If not, I'll invite them shortly. But let's just have a quick run through the race results here then at Monza for the feature race. It is Owen and Cameron with that incredible finish there for 1st and 2nd place. For bottom gear, that's a good haul of points for that team going into next week. You've got Ginger Tiger in 3rd position on the podium, with Scotty in 4th, Nitrogash in 5th. The two Williams in 6th and 7th. They finished 2nd and 3rd, of course, so good haul of points for both Williams drivers. Simon in 8th, Joe Hamster in 9th, and Kent getting 10th position. Spud ends up 11th. Great finish for him. Good fight for him. He could have ended up in the top 10, but 5-second penalty drops him outside of it. Keza 12th, and Ronan in, of course, not classified thanks to that accident earlier that brought out the safety car in the end. Wow.
Yeah, definitely exciting. I have invited Ginger in, so hopefully he'll arrive into the party soon. But I mean, considering I was only here for the feature, that was a fantastic feature race to start with, especially at the end. Can't deny that one.
Yeah, it really was a wonderful, wonderful race to watch. I'll also try and have an invite over, if we can, to SFR Martin, who of course is a former champion within Invictus Racing League. Is Martin? He got a podium before, of course, in the sprint race. And whether we can get Ryan in is another matter. Let's see if I can find him, if possible. I'll just come back off that. So we'll wait to see if they do join. If they don't, it's not the end of the world. But it would, of course, always be great to see our drivers have a chat with us and explain the proceedings of what's gone on.
I've also heard that we might be able to talk to Cameron Searle, because he does have the PS app available to him. So I'll see if I can get him in as well.
If you can, that'd be fantastic. Calvin just put in a comment there saying, hope my penalty gets removed. Hopefully it does. But we've had a really, really great set of races. We do have a couple of drivers just coming in to join us. We've got Ginger who's come in, but of course for those drivers that are joining, just make sure your voice settings for the microphone are just set to shared so everybody can hear you. That'd be great for the stream when you watch it back later. That'll be very good, so that everyone can hear you and have your own thoughts. I've also tried to invite Ryan, but whether Ryan will join, I'm not sure. Hopefully that comes through for him. But we will wait to see. Now, of course, don't forget, whilst we wait for our other drivers to join the session in terms of the interview area, just a quick reminder that next week the drivers will be having a very different challenge in front of them. At round 2, they'll be going off to Jeddah at the Corniche circuit. They'll be racing around Saudi Arabia for next week, and that will certainly throw up a lot of drama. Very difficult circuit, very technical, and very much the opposite of Monza. But we've got Cameron who's also joined us as well, so just one last time before we go into the questions, just a reminder for Cameron and Ginger, please make sure your voice settings allow your voice to be shared, etc, so that everyone can hear. But Cameron, can you hear us?
Yeah, just make sure you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear. Hopefully the stream can as well. But what a race! What a pair of race. Seemed like it to be a frustrating sprint race, though. Let's talk about that first. How was the sprint for you? It just seemed to sort of get away from you a bit.
Sprint wasn't too bad. I mean, I think me and Owen just got a bit mixed up under that safety car. Just got a bit close and just brushed his back left tyre. Just got picked up a 5-second penalty. Apart from that, nothing more I can do. Recovered it in the first lap of the main race anyway, and then it was just formation home.
That sprint to the line was absolutely fantastic to watch. Was that, I'm going to say, was that coordinated, or was there a chance for you to sneak that then?
No, that was fully coordinated. We were putting on a show. Owen earned that win today. I had my rear lock up in the first half, so that second half was just paying him back a bit.
Yeah, I'm sure Jordan will ask you about that. In fact, Jordan, do you have any questions for Cameron before I ask another one?
Yeah, go on. Obviously, the RP, we got this new, almost like performances for the cars. Obviously, last season you were primarily in a Williams and an Aston. You find yourself in AlphaTauri colours for this week. I just want your opinion on how you feel the differences of the performance have been for the realistic in comparison to the last season on F1 22.
I think obviously with it not being Williams, it's a very different car characteristic. The Williams last year was very low drag, so you had to almost put on a load of downforce. On this game, it's the opposite. The AlphaTauri has a lot of drag, so you have to run low wings, as was today. But I think with this game, almost the whole rear from about Alpine down is far closer, so we can make the differences up this game. It's not quite as extreme.
Absolutely. Jack, back to you.
For yourself, because obviously, a great result for you both in terms of yourself, Cameron and Owen. 1-2 first round of the season, and a race victory in the sprint, and probably what could have been a 1-2 in there as well had it not been for the time penalty. What is the goal for this season? I'm not going to talk about championship chances because we're only at race 1 and there's still a long way to go. But what is the goal for this season? What are you hoping for from a personal and a team perspective?
From the team, it's obviously the standard. We'd like the constructors, but we have to just pick up points where we can. I think with regards to the drives, it's fairly similar. Obviously, I think there's a few drives who I think will be quicker. So whilst they're missing rounds now, I'm just going to try and pick up as many points.
Brilliant. Well, Jordan, unless you've got any more questions.
None from me at the moment.
All right. Well done today, Cam. Good results for you, for the team, and speak with you soon.
Yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, matey. Thank you very much. So we're going to move it over to our other driver that's in the lobby with us in terms of the comms area, Ginger Tiger, who got himself a podium during the sprint and had a very good fight for the feature race. Ginger, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I didn't get a podium in the sprint though. I wish I had.
Why is my... Oh, you came across the line in the top. That's it. That's my brain.
I got a penalty for somebody hitting me, so I'm sure that will be rectified.
Congratulations on your podium then. I was right first time. Tell me about that. Tell me about that sprint from your perspective, because there seemed to be a lot of action going on all the way through, and you were just there in the thick of it.
Yeah, I didn't get a great start, but neither did Joe. And then I just snuck past Joe down the straight, and then I don't know what happened after that, because somebody, I don't know whether just somebody had hit Joe or Joe had hit me. I lost my braking, well into the back of Nitro, and I thought SFR Martin was on my outside as well, and I think he might have just missed the melee. So I got 5 seconds for that, which was frustrating. But the Haas isn't particularly quick, so it's a case of running it as low as I dare, and just hang on as long as I could. But taking a risk in the feature more than anything by putting the softs on at the safety car, that's what helped me, I think.
So if that strategy to go onto the soft tyres, because I did spot, and Jordan also spotted that you were one of the few drivers to take that risk. Do you feel that paid out in the end, and how difficult was it to drive on those what were considerably 14, 15 lap old tyres?
Yeah, It my plan was to get as past as many people as I could when I had the grip, and then just stay in the DRS. And as it happened, I was behind SFR Martin and Scotty, and I was just staying in the DRS, and I think they had a bit of a tangle just on turn one. So I tried to sneak up the inside of the pair of them because they had both ghosted, I think, because of their little collision. And then SFR Martin and myself, we just battled the last few laps. But literally, if I didn't stay in his DRS, he would have got away from me because the tyres had gone.
Oh, fair enough. So it was exciting to watch your fight. But George, you got any questions for Ginger before I ask one more?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of asked the one I was going to ask with the tyre
Apologies.
situation. But I was going to say, I mean, it's still kind of regarding tyres. There's things going around, Ginger, that the tyres seem to have almost like a graining phase, and it kind of looked like you had a couple of, like 2 or 3 laps there where you were losing a bit of time, then the tyres kind of came back to you in the middle of that soft stint. Is that kind of what it felt like to you? Almost like you had a small graining phase and then the tyres came back to you for a few more laps?
Absolutely. I thought they were going, and I made a couple of mistakes and I couldn't hit my apexes, but then all of a sudden they just sort of came back to me, and I just managed just to hold on to them really to the end. But I knew they'd go the distance because on Tuesday I started on the softs and did 12 laps on full tanks, and then went to mediums, which worked. So I swapped it around this time because obviously being in the slower car. So that was my strategy.
My final question for you, Ginger, is, former champ previously, last season for yourself, you admit, was a bit of a write-off because of the no traction control. This tonight seems like a step back in the right direction for you. I'll ask the same question though that I asked to Cam to yourself. What is the goal for this season? Are you thinking podiums, a race win? What are your thoughts?
Ideally, I'd like one race win, but I think as long as I can finish in the top 5 most weeks, I'd be happy, because RP is all about consistency, and that's what won it for me 2 seasons ago. So I just think about, as long as you're consistent and you're in and around the points, that'll be fine for me, to be honest. If a win comes, brilliant, that's what I'd like. If not, I'll just take what comes as long as I'm on the track at the end of the race.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's brilliant to hear. Hopefully you can get those targets met, Ginger. But well done on this evening. Really good to see you fighting up there, and hopefully more of the same for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thanks for the commentary, guys, and congratulations to the 2 guys, Owen and Cam.
Thank you very much.
And SFR Martin, who happens to be in the chat, just to say good battle at the end. Thanks, guys.
We are, of course, gonna go over to Martin, who, as Ginger's just alluded to, was involved in the thick of it today as well. A good fight for them. Martin, tell us about the sprint and the fit. Start off with the sprint. Actually, how did you feel it went for you?
How you doing, guys? The sprint. I can't remember the sprint.
Do you remember where you finished?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. Owen and Cameron are teammates, so those guys were just like just making sure they got the 1-2 for the sprint, I think. So yeah, it was kind of like just trying to not get in a crash and have a good place to start the main race. But I had like Joe and things like that all behind me. They were really quick, so they were kind of pushing me to push on Owen and Cameron, and then they were like they were going too wide out of turn 1 up to turn 2 and things like that. So yeah, they made it really tricky, but it was all fair and above board. And yeah, it was just about make sure you're not starting at the back of the grid for the main race, really. That's the objective there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had some really good fights, especially with Ginger. I mean, how was that fight from your perspective?
Yeah, I really could have done without that safety car. But I suppose it helped. Cameron spun on his own at Parabolica, and that put me up to P2 on my own, and then I think I had like a 5-second gap back to him, and he wasn't really gaining back on me at all. It was just kind of going up and down a few tenths, and I thought, well, I'll just take that then to the end of the race if I can. And then just around the time I was about to pit, the safety car come out, and yeah, just made stupid mistakes like speeding in the pit lane, got a 5-second penalty straight away. So yeah, and then Ginger, I knew Ginger was going to be really quick on no sauce at the beginning, and it was just like, I tried not to fight him too much, just let him go, but stay with him, because I know his tyres are going to die towards the end. And then Scotty was there, and he was really quick today as well, so it was kind of like a three-way battle for a long time. But I noticed that Ginger's tyres were starting to drop off, like halfway through his stint, or towards the end of his stint, and because his red light was flashing a couple of times. So I was like, okay, I'm going to push and try and get by him. He had a 3-second penalty at the time, so I thought I would be able to, if I got by him, I would try and push to get the 2 seconds over him. And I think me and Scotty were doing that. I think we managed to drop him just slightly out the DRS, but then me and Scotty ended up fighting, and that kind of brought him right back down again. And then, yeah, I went a little bit deep on the brakes at turn 1. And then me and Scotty were trying to go through turn 2, and Ginger got a good exit, and then I don't know what happened with Scotty getting into the wall. It was really unfortunate for him. And then yeah, at the end, it didn't really matter what I'd done, so I just raced for the sake of it, because I had my 5 seconds anyway. Maybe I probably would have not made the move at the end, because I got a 3-second penalty on track limits at the end, which cost me a few places, but still. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was good fun.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's really positive. George, you got any questions?
Yeah, obviously you've had good battles throughout the evening. Obviously with Owen and Cameron, it looked like you could stick, as long as you kept with them, you could stick with them. Was that basically just the key? Was that if you could stick with the DRS, there was a chance you could kind of go with them? But as soon as you dropped out of that, it was kind of they were gone.
Yeah, I learned in the sprint race that those two were working together fairly obviously. So when we started the race, I wasn't pushing really hard to try and stay with Owen when I was in P2, because I knew if Cameron overtook me, that Owen would drop back and give him DRS. So I just had to stay with Cameron, which I did in the beginning, and then that was also my objective after the safety car restart, and I was sitting like in the DRS of Cameron, and Cameron had closed in on Owen by like a second, 2 seconds, and Owen was just kind of taking it easy and letting him come into the DRS, but Cameron spun. And then after the safety car, I intended to do the same, but Ginger was so quick on the soft tyres that in between the sort of battling between us, we fell away from the DRS like immediately. The two of them pushed away so quickly. So yeah, I think with the safety car coming out, that sort of game plan was out the window. So it was about trying to do everything I could to just negate the 5-second penalty. But definitely in the sprint race, yeah, that was definitely the objective. Those two guys are really quick. I was in the Williams, so in Sector 2 was where I was losing all my time to everyone. Particularly Owen and Cameron, they were really quick through Sector 2, so I don't know if the Williams obviously doesn't have great downforce, and you can really feel it through Ascari in the corner just before the DRS on the back straight. So if you're in the DRS, it's not too bad, but the minute you fall out, that's it, you're gone, you know.
Oh, it sounds like you've had a whole host of battles, not just on circuit, but with the car in a sense as well. Yeah. Everyone's going to get the same final question this evening. I promise I do change it up for next week. But in terms of goals for this season, what are you aiming towards?
Just helping my teammate with the constructors because he's a quick guy, quicker than me. So I know that Merck, he wasn't racing tonight. Hopefully he races more often though throughout the season. He's a really quick guy. I would expect that he'll be up there competing with everybody for race wins. So I'm just going to be there to put as many points down for the team as possible throughout the season. I've not got any ambitions in like driver championship, nothing like that. So, but yeah, I'll just go out and race and try and do the best every week. And if we get something out of it at the end of the season, great. If not, then it was fun racing anyway.
Well, that's always a great attitude to have, Martin. That's really pleasing to hear. But good results today. It's a good to have this conversation with you and everyone who joins in for the comms afterwards in the interview area. But well done this evening, and hopefully more of the same moving forward.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks for the comms, guys. You're great.
Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Well, that is it for this evening, everybody.
Sorry, Jack. I will say we do have a write-up from Owen.
Do we have a write-up from Owen?
We have a write-up from Owen.
Can you tell us the write-up from Owen, then?
I can, because otherwise he will probably complain that we didn't read it out.
Okay.
I mean, Owen's a shout-out to the fans. He goes, #blessed, #grateful, #God bless. As most people know, Owen's very... very humorous at times. It's good fun actually for Owen. He also said tonight on Bottom Gear, Owen led some laps, Cameron led some laps, a safety car led some laps. Thank you and good night. So no more write up about the race, but it's a good spirit there from Owen. I think after the results tonight, he's definitely in high spirits.
I'm not surprised. He had a set of great results for this evening. Any other extra comments to add, Jord, at all?
I think as the other drivers come back to make this grid bigger, which should be bigger in the coming rounds, I think we're going to see a lot more close battles, and I think this game in general is creating close battles between the different tiered drivers as well. It's fantastic to see. So hopefully we just get more of the same for the coming weeks, and it should build into quite a close championship, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure that everyone who joins in will have a lot to contribute in terms of the racing out on circuit. And those that have been watching this evening, thank you very much for watching. Those that have joined for the live stream, thank you for putting the likes as well. It's really good for the growth of the channel and good for the community, so everyone can get involved and raise the profile of the wonderful Invictus Racing League. This has been the first round of the season. Thank you very much to our partnerships with Gridfinder, and again, like I said from earlier on, what I was saying before, do check out Gridfinder. Loads of different leagues that you can go and find, different games and platforms that you can be involved in there. It's a great place to go. And also as well to Venturi Studio, providing those brilliant graphics and creating those visually stunning realities that you can go and explore for yourselves. But for the realistic performance tier 1 for this evening, that is it. Next week we will be racing around Saudi Arabia in Jeddah at the Corniche circuit. But from Jordan, it's good night.
Good night.
And from me, Jack TM53, it's good night as well. And wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one. See you next week.